Hello, I'm Tweed Scott, author, professional speaker, and lecturer. I'm coming to you today from San Jacinto, the birthplace of Texas liberty. I am passionate about Texas, so much so that I wrote a book about it. My book, Texas in Her Own Words, explains why Texans are the way they are. You know, where all that attitude comes from. My greatest joy comes from traveling around Texas, spreading what I call the gospel of Texas. I speak to chambers of commerce, government agencies, schools, corporations of all sizes. In fact, coming up is a sample of me explaining the source of the Texan character. It was recorded recently at the Tarkington Prairie Community Library. And I'll be back in just a few minutes. First of all, I got to tell you, I think I'm here on false pretenses. Because Ruth contacted me a while back and said, tell me, Tweed, do you believe in free speech? I said, well, silly, of course I believe in free speech. She said, great, how about coming out to Tarkington and giving one? How do you really say no to a suggestion like that? So, a little bit about me. I'm a retired broadcaster of 31 years. I had all the fun and poverty I could stand, so I decided to get out and make a living. And I went home, and after about 2 days, I asked myself, well, fool, now what are you going to do? And I realized, you know what, I know how to write. So I went and started my own writing company. And within a couple of years, as the business was growing, I screwed up. And I wrote this book. And who knew what was going to happen? My book, Texas in Her Own Words, is a 3-time National Award-winning book, 2 for creative nonfiction and 1 for book design. And first of all, I've got to come clean with you. I was not born in Texas. See, now, before somebody yells, get a rope, I want to see a show of hands right now. Who in this room got to choose where they were born? No, you don't get to make that choice. Mom makes that decision for you, right? But you damn sure get to choose where you live. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm home. You see, I grew up in Laconia, New Hampshire. And I left for boot camp the morning after high school graduation. I joined the Navy to see the world. And within 6 months, I found myself stationed about 3 miles outside of beautiful downtown Kingsville. Yeah, you know. That's called culture shock. Then within a couple of years, I met and married a native Texan. And you marry a Texas girl and your life is over. You are not going anywhere. I figure guys got the input on one major decision after that, and that is exactly where you're going to pour that slab. Because you're not going anywhere. So let's hit the fast forward button. Several years, and I'm sitting at the dinner table one night, and being a typical dad, I'm gritching at my son about something. Dads do that, and some of us are really good at it. And my wife, so out of character for her, turned to my son and said, Tyler, do not listen to your father. Understand, you have something that he will never, ever have. And he said, well, what's that? And she says, you, son, you were born in Texas. That's it. These people are getting another dang gene, okay? There's a T chromosome, and I'm going to go find it. And that's what the book's about. And I set off, and I started asking some Texan friends of mine about, tell me, in your own words, what makes Texas special? Why is this place so different than anywhere else on God's green planet? And also, if and when it applied to them, what does it mean to you personally to be a native Texan? Just explain that whole concept to me, an American, so I can understand. And I got some remarkable answers. And then I knew I was on to something. And at the time, I couldn't honestly tell you what it was. I just knew there was something to this. So we got in the car, and we took off on 8 points of the compass on any given weekend. And we went from El Paso to Nacogdoches, Amarillo, to the Valley, and countless places in between. And I met some remarkable people. Now, I have to admit, I drew a little bit of my radio background because when you're in radio, you meet a lot of people. So there are people in the book you've heard of. Willie Nelson is in the book, Liz Carpenter, Darrell Royal, and I, of course, got Kinky Friedman to do the forward for me. And I think, hey, if I play your records, come on, little payback. But at any rate, what I really did, my criteria was really simple. I wanted a good cross-section of people from all over Texas, blue-collar, white-collar, native transplants. I want to know what makes Texas, Texas. And I got some remarkable answers. And the amazing thing was, as much as I expected to get a lot of diversity in the answers, I did get diversity. But what blew me completely off the shelf was how people who could live 400, 500, 600 miles apart tell me the same things. And in some cases, it was almost verbatim. It's kind of creepy. Because there's no way they know one another. What's that thread? What's that thing that pulls them all together? And I guess I will say this, I'm not the brightest bulb in the knife drawer. And it took me about 40 or 50 interviews into this thing before I started connecting the dots. And I began to realize there are certain traits that Texans share. And they don't have to know one another. What are those traits? And now I'm not going to make you buy the book to find out. I wouldn't do anything cheesy like that. The fact of the matter is there are 4 traits that all Texans share, regardless of where they live. Now you tell me if I'm wrong. The first and most important is the fact that Texas was once its own country. No other state can legitimately make that claim. And the fact is, if a native Texan doesn't think you know that, you have approximately 6, maybe 8 minutes to wait. Because you will be duly informed. That's part of a Texan's identity. That's who you are. It's just in your DNA. Now the next 2 traits are very closely related. Number 2 is the state education system. Texas is one of the very few states where the state history is so heavily mandated in the public schools. It is the law in Texas. Children get Texas history in the 4th grade. They're going to get it again in the 7th grade. Some school districts even elect to teach it again in the 11th grade. You will not graduate from a state college without taking a semester of Texas government, nor will you teach in Texas unless you've taken that course. The 3rd trait ties in very closely to that. Think about it. If your family goes back 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 generations, whatever, it's a no-brainer. Why? Because kids grow up within a family and they hear these stories about their great-great-uncle, fill in the blank, who, fill in the blank. It doesn't matter how minor a role they may have played. They could have brought water to Sam Houston's horse 2 months before the Battle of San Jacinto. But somebody within your family helped make Texas, Texas. It's a no-brainer. Kids grow up knowing that they're part of something special. Not that they're better, but they know somehow they're different. It's like they've been cut out of a different herd. And the 4th trait that all Texans share is the Alamo. Of course, the 175th anniversary of the fall of the Alamo is tomorrow. And but Texans admire those guys. There's a reverence to that place. And there are people who speak of it with reverence even if they've never been there. You see, Texans admire people who stand up for what they believe in, even in the face of insurmountable odds. They know they may get knocked on their butts, but they don't care. They're just going to get up, they're going to dust themselves off and say, well, hey, that didn't work. Now, how do we make it happen? And that's the one thing I've learned. I surmised it in the first few months I was here. Texans are how thinkers. They are not if thinkers at all. If never enters into the equation. It's about solving problems. I was here 3 months in Kingsville when I figured out that if you wanted to get something done, you just tell a Texan it can't happen. And you better get out of the way, because action's about to take place. Now granted, it may not be particularly well thought out at the moment, particularly if there's alcohol involved, but something is going to happen. Texans are just that way. I absolutely love and admire Texans, and the reason I live here is because of that positive mental mindset. You see, Texas was built by people who fulfilled dreams. Think of how big a stage Texas is. The cattle industry started here. It basically changed a lot of eating habits. The oil industry started in Texas. And let's face it, when Texas discovered oil, it changed the world. The first computer chip was developed or invented in Texas. Okay? Not one of these happened by accepting the concept of no, we can't. Texans, as I said, are how thinkers, not if thinkers. For Texans, no is simply not an option. And in fact, what's great about Texas is if you don't like where you live, for one thing, if you fail, people don't hold it against you. You just get up, as I said, you dust yourself off and you start over, and if you've got to reinvent yourself, well, you do it. Think about the people who came here originally. They came from places like Kentucky, Virginia, Tennessee, Georgia, and I'm telling you, where they came from is not important. What is important is what they brought with them. They brought those skills that you had to have, like survival, living off the land, knowing how to hunt and all that. I mean, the thing is, this was a brutally tough place to live, and you had to earn the right to live here, and you earned it by surviving. And that's just part of that whole Texas mindset. So if you fail, you get up and you dust off and you start over again. And another great thing about Texas is if you don't like where you live, you can pick up and move even 50 miles in any direction, and you're in a completely different world. And you don't need new plates for your truck. What's better than that? So I tell you, Texas is special, honest and truly. And if you don't think Texas is special, I want to know, can you name me a place, any other state, that has tortilla chips, ice cubes, sinks, swimming pools, even waffle irons, shaped like their state? True. I rest my case. Anyway, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Hi, welcome back. I certainly hope that you enjoyed what you just saw. If you'd like to have a copy of the book for your own, well, that's simple. Just contact me through the website at www.tweedscott.com, or if you prefer, you can get it on eBay. Just search for it by its title, Texas in Her Own Words. Either way, I'll be happy to sign and personalize a copy just for you. It's proven to be a great gift book for Texans and transplants and for people who just don't get Texas. This book is sold at the Alamo and has won 3 national awards. We're pretty proud of it. If you'd like me to speak for your group or organization, well, contact me through the website, or my email is tweed@tweedscott.com. I'd be happy to customize a presentation for your upcoming event, and I can promise that your group is going to be motivated, inspired, and oh yeah, we're going to laugh a lot along the way too. Texans are how thinkers, not if thinkers, and I know why. And I can help your group harness the power of being Texan and put it to work for you. So let's talk. Contact me and let's check on my availability. Oh, and one other thing, I'm really easy to work with too, I promise.